When woman spots wolf all alone, she did something most would never do. There was almost an unearthly quiet around her. The snow lay thick all around her. Suddenly she stopped and looked behind her, but still, nothing but silence. She thought she heard something behind her, something that sounded like footsteps. That's when she saw it. From out of the woods a shape emerged. Then more and more shapes appeared. Suddenly the wolves started to walk toward her deliberately. Finally, she had grown up and she was determined to make her fantasy come true. What she never expected, however, was to encounter their true nature. Now, as an adult, she set out to live her fantasy. But she never knew that these wolves would show her their true colors. When she decided to volunteer at the Colorado Wolf and Wildlife Center, Danielle was terribly nervous. She didn't know what to expect. All she knew was that she was determined to meet a wolf. Volunteering would not only make her dream come true, but it would also let her give back. What she had to do when she first started was not something she expected. In the beginning, Danielle had to do some unpleasant tasks, such as cutting up huge racks of raw meat by hand. She also had to clean the toilet tanks. Through all of this, Danielle couldn't help but wonder when she would actually get to meet a wolf. She had no idea how soon it would actually be. Wolves are known as pack animals. This means that they are social animals. A fully grown wolf could bite down with about 600 pounds per square inch. A German Shepherd or Pit Bull only has half of that power. They are also very intelligent and are known for outwitting their prey, and Danielle was about to find out just how true this was. They would soon be demonstrating their intelligence. The Colorado Wolf and Wildlife Center is outside the town of Divide. It has many amenities such as an education amphitheater, a visitor center, and it also offers many different walking trails. It is a 35-acre plot of land that has many different enclosures for wolves and wolf hybrids. These animals can be visited with the supervision of a guide. There is a very specific reason this center was built. The hope was that people could be educated about these animals. For many years, wolves have been feared and misunderstood by humans. Due to a number of factors such as deforestation and hunting, the gray wolf population has practically vanished. People have often used words like big, vicious, and bad when describing these beautiful animals. Danielle was sure that they were wrong. Danielle was finally told that she was about to get her chance. She was so excited that she was shaking in anticipation. Finally, she would get to see a wolf up close. The guide led Danielle away from the visitors area of the center. When she entered the area where the animals lived, neither she nor the guide could expect what happened once the animals became aware of her. They walked through the snow for some time. Unlike in the visitors area, there was no barrier between her and the wild animals. Her footsteps crunched on the snow, but all other sounds seemed deadened. There was little to see in the snow except for her own footsteps. She kept walking, and then suddenly she saw the shapes emerging from the trees. Slowly the wolves drew closer. Once they got close enough, Danielle realized that the two wolves approaching her were a pair known as Kikoa and Sakara. They had seen her and decided to investigate. Kikoa was especially wary and on guard. Kikoa carefully drew closer and closer. It was clear that he was on guard. Suddenly she saw more figures emerging from the trees. Danielle didn't recognize the newcomers. All four were cautious, especially Sakara. She was more careful and hid behind Kikoa, but never took her eyes off Danielle. Danielle had no idea what to do. She didn't know what to do, and there was nothing around for miles. As the wolves circled the pair, they got closer and closer. The pair were surrounded and trapped. One of the wolves carefully approached her, followed by Sakara. The animals were much bigger than she had expected, and her heart started to pound. Without knowing why, Danielle sat down on the ground and waited. She let the animals approach her. Then suddenly Sakara did something unexpected. Sakara came close to Danielle. She started to sniff around her. Then suddenly Sakara opened her mouth right in front of Danielle's face and did something no one expected. The other wolves, led by Kikoa, began to also inspect Danielle. They started to draw closer to her. Sakara, however, was practically on top of Danielle. Soon after, the other wolves, led by Kikoa, followed his sister's lead to inspect the new human, sitting absolutely still in the snow. Now, Sakara was almost on top of her. Sakara began to lick her face, but Danielle knew that she had to remain absolutely still and let her do what she wanted. One wrong move could prove to be the biggest mistake she'd ever make. The wolf's teeth grazed her neck as Daniela tried to move her head upward, away from Sakura's intense gaze. But did the massive wolf think she was food or friend? She'd soon find out. As if taking their cue from Sakura, the other wolves and Kikoa, the largest of the three, began to sniff Danielle and paw her with their massive claws. Growing bolder by the minute, they snapped at each other, as if each wolf was fighting for for the right to be the first to inspect this new intruder in their woods. They jumped on Danielle's back and snarled, but she had to keep her composure even though her fear threatened to engulf her. This particular pair of wolves, Kikoa and Sakura, were siblings who had been adopted together in hopes that they would be a teaching tool to educate the community. They were both adopted from a facility in Florida called Seacrest Wolf Preserve, Michelle Smith from the center explained. But unfortunately, this didn't go according to plan for very long. We had hoped they would be ambassadors. But sadly, like most wolves and high-content wolf dogs, once they reached maturity, they became very shy and retired at the ripe old age of 2, Michelle added. So now the wolves live in an enormous enclosure where they can lead happy lives away from the hunters that pose them such danger. But the way the pair of wolves had reacted to Danielle was unprecedented. Kikoa also proceeded to lick Danielle's face, although much more thoroughly than his sister. Then, the massive wolf rolled over onto his back in a display of complete submission and trust. Danielle was taken aback, but then it dawned on her exactly what he wanted. He wanted belly scratches just like a pet dog. After the encounter, Darlene and the rest of the people at the center decided they wanted Danielle to meet the wolves every day. They had plans to send Danielle back into the woods the very next day to see if she would be so lucky a second time. Danielle made her way back to the woods the very next day, and everyone was excited to see what happened. Amazingly, the volunteer was accepted into the pack instantly. Danielle's instant bond with the wolves at the center is extraordinary, and the other staff was thrilled. They promptly asked her to continue her work at the center, and she has now been working closely with the wolves for several years. She has developed a deep connection with Kikoa and Danielle, and the wolves couldn't be happier. I have always had a passion for nature and animals, Danielle revealed on the center's website. These wolves have my heart, and I am honored to have been accepted into their pack. Since meeting Danielle, Kikoa loves to greet visitors with wolf kisses, the center said on its website. Michelle adds, since he was raised by people and bottle-fed from the time he was born, he is very well socialized, meaning he enjoys the company of people. But he loves nobody more than Danielle. The pair can often be seen together at the sanctuary, where he will eagerly follow her around and enjoy all her attention. But has the center managed to send out the message they set out to? This is not the same as domesticated or tame, Smith added. He is still a wild animal, and he does tend to show it when he is around his sister. A wolf in the wild would not act this way. But people were awed by the wolf and fearless Danielle, and the video quickly went viral. The video of Danielle's interaction with the wolves at the sanctuary has touched the hearts of thousands. The video exploded on the sanctuary's Facebook page. Many people are just not aware that a wolf can display such affection towards a human. This has made people think of wolves in a whole new light. Wolves are in danger of becoming extinct because of humans' ignorance. They are hunted and blamed for the disappearance of livestock, even though wolves only count for about 1% of these, and they have been depicted throughout the ages as fearsome creatures. In fact, wolves have highly evolved and complex social systems, and they always look out for members of their pack. Humans could still learn a thing or two from wolves, but one man learned about wolves the hard way. John had no idea the risk he was walking into. Trying to approach a trapped animal is never easy, let alone a trapped predator. The wolf did not appreciate the human inching toward it. Vehemently, it raged against the trap, holding it back, trying desperately to back away from the human. But John was determined. He had to reach the wolf. But when he finally got close enough to the animal, he did something completely uncharacteristic. John Owens was a typical outdoorsy kind of guy. He enjoyed nature and spending time out in the wild. He knew his way around the forest better than most, but no time spent outdoors would prepare him for one encounter made in the wild. John had volunteered to help catch and relocate coyotes who were causing a problem within the area. But John also had a hobby not many people agreed with. John was a hunter. He had competed in many various contests throughout the years. Though people did not support this, it did prepare him for the coyote project. However, one day, John came across no animal he had ever encountered before. Stuck in a snare was a timber wolf. John knew he had to do something quickly. He was used to dealing with smaller coyotes in the area, until that day arrived. Recently, the Wisconsin area began to suffer from an overflux of coyotes. The animals would prey on surrounding livestock and domesticated animals alike. As such, John decided to act on the situation. Before the coyotes became too big a problem, he would correct it. He and a few companions volunteered to capture and re-release the pests. However, one day, their trap snared something larger than they had bargained for. One day, John saw something he had not anticipated to find. When he wandered out, sighting the various traps, he saw something odd. In one coyote trap lay a lone wolf. The animal appeared to be a timber wolf. Though the timber wolf is the smallest of the breed, it still appeared gigantic to John. However, he knew exactly what he needed to do. With his gun by his side, he proceeded to move toward the animal. Ironically enough, even though the animal was snared, it seemed to be completely calm. It lay completely still in the grass, as though it had just stopped for a breather. However, the heavy breathing of the wolf indicated distress. Suddenly, the calm demeanor changed when John approached. The wolf became feral. It was as though it sensed John was a trapper. John knew he needed help, but when he reached out, the wolf grew more treacherous. The moment the wolf began to react, John knew he needed help. As such, he called in backup. Not too long after his call, two of his companions arrived on the scene. However, the two men were also heavily armed. This caused the wolf to react even more pugnaciously than before. John knew he could not face the animal in these conditions. Furthermore, this temperamental behavior wouldn't let him achieve what he intended to with the wolf. Suddenly, John saw something that would solve all of their issues. Lying blatantly in the woods was a sparse piece of plywood. Why someone had decided to dump it there nobody knew, but John could not be more grateful at that moment for the spare timber. Quickly, he picked up the board. He intended to use it as a shield to approach the trapped animal, but the wolf didn't take kindly to this approach. As soon as the wolf saw John hold up the board, he began to go nuts. For some reason, the animal viewed the material as a real threat. Still, John attempted to approach. His friends stood close by, guns at the ready, but this just distressed the animal further. It had no idea what John's intentions were. However, the wolf had an angle of its own, and soon, the hunter became the hunted. As John closed in on the wolf, the animal began to react badly. It was certainly not okay with a human being so close to it. Furthermore, no one knew what John's plan was when he finally reached the wolf. But if they did, his friends would have stopped him immediately. But still, he approached the animal ever so cautiously. He knew he had one chance to get close enough, and when he finally did, things took a turn in the opposite direction. As John approached the animal, he waited considerably between moves, until he was close enough to touch the wolf's trapped foot. He placed the board between himself and the wolf. On doing this, the wolf desperately tried to back up. Scared the animal would hurt itself, John stopped in his tracks slowly. The wolf became more at ease. Then, John did something remarkable. He released the wolf from its trap. Then suddenly, the wolf launched. In a flash, and before John could fathom what was happening, the wolf had pounced. However, it had bounded away in the opposite direction. As soon as John had released its paw from the trap, the wolf bounded away furiously. John fell back in a state of sheer relief. A wave of adrenaline washed over his body at the thought of what could have been, but he feared for the animal's well-being. Remarkably, the wolf seemed to be perfectly fine. John observed the magnificent creature for a while. As it took to the woods, John looked for any telltale signs of distress. However, it appeared that the wolf was completely unharmed. This left John in an even deeper state of relief. He felt relieved that the animal would easily be able to rejoin its pack. But something unexpected happened when John shared his story on social media. The whole time, John had been filming his encounter with the animal. He had captured every moment he had spent with the wolf, from stumbling across the trapped creature to its majestic release. But when he shared the video to YouTube, he was met with a resounding following. Quickly, his video began to gain views. To this day, it has amassed 6 million views. But what became of the mountain man? The experience really had changed John. He was overwhelmed with how he had helped the animal in distress. He now plans on motivating people to do the same. His video is still being viewed to this day. Hopefully, other hunters will learn from his kindness. John will forever remain the outdoorsman he always was, but now, he will do so in a more conscientious manner going forward.